Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's card I've got a lot of different browns and blues and greens and the Ahoy Matey Lawn Fawn stamp set. I've got the stitched hillside, the palm trees and the largest of the stitched rectangles. I've cut several of those stitched rectangles, can't talk, so that I can create some layers on my card with all the other pieces that the other dies that I showed you. I also have the inside pop-up inside hillside pop-up, oh my god, anyway, this piece and the wave pieces that go with that and coordinate with it, which is why they look like they've got funny pieces on them. You'll see how that works in a bit. So to start with, I have got some this I believe is Bristol smooth cardstock, and I'm going to use some tumbled glass distress oxide and just create a very simple sky background. So I'm starting at the top of what would be the piece that I'll use, and I'm just working my way down so it fades out, and that's as difficult as that gets. And I will do the same for I've got two pieces because I need two. I need one for the outside, one for the inside. So I'm creating two lots as I go here of most of these pieces. You'll see there's a difference with the inside, but we'll get to that. So just very simple, like say sky background. Anybody can do this. And then what I'm going to do is clean up, and I ran out of baby wipes to clean up with. So I'm using all sorts of stuff today, and then I used some a distress sprayer just for some water, just to give it some texture in the background. It's very subtle, but it's there. And then I'll set those off to dry. And then the next few pieces I'm going to use some Salty Ocean on them, and this is some ordinary blue cardstock. So I just thought it would add, if I added if I added some Salty Ocean over the top of it. And it does, it just makes a difference. It makes it I don't know, it just saves you that extra layer of ink if that's not really your thing. So start with a colored piece and then ink the edges of it, and you'll still have this great look. And again, I spritzed it with some water so that we could get some texture on top of that. So now I've got some gathered twigs, all oxide inks today, and this piece actually was like a spare piece that I had, but it's still got all the stitching around the edges, and I just sort of added the extra stitching line from the hillside borders. You'll see what I use that for in a bit. And then I've got these two layers of the like the sand pieces. So that was, I think that was some Nina Desert Storm cardstock, which is like a craft cardstock. You could use Stampin' Up's crumb cake would work really well. And again, just spritzing so there's some extra texture on there, especially being sand. You want that sort of look of sand. So there's different things you can do. You can also splatter it with a darker ink. And then for my trees, this is also Nina Desert Storm, but what I did was for the trunks I used some ground espresso and just went all the way up the tree trunk, but then darker at the bottom. So it just gives it some, I suppose, dimension or depth. And then just until I was happy with them. So really, really easy. Trying to get my thing clean up. And for some reason, my camera can't cope with white as a background. So I love my media matte, but it don't like it. So this is some mowed lawn that I'm just going over the top of some green cardstock. I think it's a Stampin' Up cardstock again, but I don't know what color it is. It might be like Old Olive or Pear Pizzazz or something like that. I can't remember. But that doesn't matter. If you start with a base color, then add a slightly darker ink over the edges. It just gives it a lot of depth. And like I say, you don't have to faff with the inking those pieces first, in a couple of different, you can of course, but it just helps if you're not sure how to do that sort of thing, or it's new to you. So again, spritzed it for texture, and now I'm going to move on to the colouring. So I've stamped all my images again onto this is just regular cardstock. Like I say in many of my videos, I try any cardstock. and I see if it works with different products. So this is just it is a smooth cardstock, but it's just a thick white cardstock. It's not like a Nina specific or a Copic colouring specific cardstock. And I just try it and it works pretty well for me. So bonus, because it's cheap as well. So just getting some colour onto all their little outfits. The colour palette's pretty neutral. There's a few reds like I'm doing here. There'll be a green for the Parrot, a few mostly browns for like the ship and the treasure chest, some warm greys for the what's it called, treasure map. can't think today. And the coins are going to be in like an ochre, like a yellow ochre sort of colour, which actually it was a new combo. I think this is the other thing, when you get to colouring in things like your like using your Copic markers or other markers, it's nice when you find new combos of colours, because it sort of opens that whole thing up for you, and it most of the time it works really, really well. So all the coins are going to be in this sort of yellow ochre sort of colour that I sort of had. I do sometimes use online. Oh, here's my cat. Well, my kitten. This is the newest one. This is Gizmo. Decided he had to see everything, of course. So there's a lot of if I find that I don't know what combos to use and I don't necessarily have all the markers that somebody else has, which is fair enough, do you know what I mean? I'll go online and I'll look for like the closest thing that I have for a color combination, and sometimes I will just look at the lids and go, okay, I'm going to try those two together, and sometimes it works and sometimes it really doesn't. So sometimes you have to try these things. This combo of browns, I cannot remember what the combo was. Of course, they weren't next to each other in the way that you would normally use Copic markers, and yet the colors blended so nicely and they worked out so nicely. So sometimes you just got to experiment. Yeah, that's probably the best thing. This combo did not work as well as I'd hoped. I got it to work, but it wasn't as nice, I guess, as the treasure chest. Can't talk. So again, I'm working my way through all the different combinations of colors, and where there's browns, I use two different combinations of browns so that they're not totally the same, like on the ship. And then and just working my way through all these different things, and then I will get them die cut out. This set I actually have the dies for, which shows you how long I've had this, because I haven't bought dies for sets for quite a long time. There's occasionally I will, but for the most part I don't actually buy the dies, because I have my scan and cut. I think at this point there was something going on with my older cat and the kitten, so hence the delay. I forgot to turn my camera off. So yeah, you have a shot of my desk for a few seconds, but anyway, I'm back to it. So I think that I've lost my train of thought. So with the colours, as long as I could sort of make them work, I'm using some warm greys here for anything that looked kind of white, but actually the cool greys would work better for that, because they obviously are a cool grey rather than a warm grey. The warm greys tend to look more sort of like brown. They've got like a brown tone to them. So I guess for like islanders who are stranded, it makes sense, because they wouldn't be clean, would they? Let's face it. So I was okay with that in the end, but really a cool grey would work better for things that are things that you want to have look white. So I have a 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to fold that at 4 1/4. And this is where you do need this a specific way. So you do need this card to open up in this manner. And And so I'm going to start by getting the first sky background on, and it's pretty easy. I've got to say, this whole card really, for the most part, did go together fairly well. It was pretty easy to put together once I had all the pieces. You know, the layers just seemed to work really quite nicely. This is probably the trickiest bit. Just because I had to layer almost from the back to the front, but I had to still layer front to back. It's yeah, it's a weird kind of concept. So this is where I'm using these are two of the pieces. I've got 4 of these, but these are 2 of the pieces that are actually meant for that inside pop-up, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And we will put that in the inside of the card. But I actually like the waves, so I use them on the outside as well. So this is where I'm just trying to line up, like say, back to front and upside down and all that, and make sure I've got it at the right sort of height without really sticking it down. But it's still, I still think it works out really quite nicely. And I've often, in a few videos at least, used the pieces for the inside, like the grassy ones, there's the cloud ones, the only cloud thing I've got as well, like as a border. And I often use them like this so that I can actually get more out of them, so they're not just for those inside pop-up pieces. So I've got my sort of starting to set the scene of what I want here, and I have to say that this whole card was a complete inspiration from Nicole Spore. I watched her video. She did something very similar many years ago, and I was watching it and I just thought, I love that. And so this one and the card before, the video before this, are actually ones that I decided to use as a specific birthday card for someone. Can't say in case said person is watching, so although we'll probably work it out anyway. So I decided that I loved it so much I had to sort of make my own version of it. So although there are a lot of pieces that are very similar, the inspiration is definitely from her. So thank you, Nicole, if you ever see this video. So and she I know you shouldn't have favorites, like kids, you shouldn't have favorite crafters, but I do, and she is one of my favorites. I get a lot of inspiration from her. So there's my little spiel on that. But yeah, that's where the inspiration for this card came from. Now, it's not exactly the same, which is fine, but I wanted to mention that because although I can create things like this, and so can you, I think it's important that if you get inspiration from someone and you want to recreate, although put your own twist on it, which I definitely do on the inside, I think it's important to mention where that inspirations come from, because it's just the right thing to do. So I've got most of the pieces set down now, and I just want to get my sentiment on the outside done. So I'm going to just line up, and this is the nice thing about Lawn Fawn stamps. The sentiment stamps will line up, they kind of butt up to each other so that the spacing is right as well between each word. So I think that's genius. So it's the little things, right? So I used the oxide again. I've used that on the whole card. I don't use any other inks for stamping, any other sentiments. There's one more that goes on the inside, although be aware that it will stay wet for longer because it is a combination of like a pigment and a dye ink, so it does stay wet for longer. So I do smudge it, but I will fix it because it's oxide and it's just awesome ink. So on the inside again, I'm just getting my sky set up, and this is where I put my finger right in it, and you'll see here I'll just take some more tumbled glass just to fix that a bit, and it's fine. You can't tell that I even made a boo-boo but I am very much aware of it now. And then I've got this inside, the hillside, that doesn't sound right, the hillside pop-up, something like that, and I will be putting that in a minute. But I decided at the base of the card I wanted to add some salty ocean so that it looked like the ocean, with this like shoreline. That's the word. And so I spritzed it. So yes, it's on the inside of the card. Yes, the card warped a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. It will dry and it'll be fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the pop-up piece in. So I will show you very quickly here, but Lawn Fawn do a fab video on how this works. You basically stick this panel, this piece, this like inch wide strip into the base up against the score line, and then what you need to do is you fold. I've already pre-folded everything, but you sort of fold that little one forward, and then the two tabs fold flat forward, and when you then close your card, it will pick them up and create these hillside pop-ups. So that's the original die, and you can use that in like a green or a, you know, depending on your scene. But there's also these add-ons, and this is what these funny little pieces look like. So this is the wave add-on. So this strange one with the little cutout is made so that it fits in and slots into that back piece to create that wave, and then this longer one goes in the front onto this, the front hillside, and again it just fits in there like so. It's so easy, and the more I play with it, the better it is and the easier it gets. So I have my, what will be my shoreline, and I did stick it in slightly wonky, but this tape is so good. It's like once it's down, so you just kind of got to go with it. But I like that I added that blue at the bottom there. It just adds a little bit of extra, you know, to that sort of part of the scene, I guess. And then I have the "You Are Awesome," which I thought was very cool, and then an X marks the spot in some barn door ink, and that's just as hard as that gets. And then I am also going to take the like north, south, east, west, what's it called, compass thing, and stamp it at the top there. I have some more trees that I'm going to put in the front here, and just be aware that when you do put these on, that you're not putting your adhesive higher than the thing it's sticking to, because when you close this, you don't want to stick your card together. So I nearly did that, and I had to take tape off the back, because I put tape on everything beforehand thinking, oh, that's what I'll do, not thinking about the inside. So I had to actually rip all the tape off the back, but it was fine, you can't see that. And then for the getting the like the palm leaves on, I actually used some glue dots and got them stuck on there. So it's probably better, like with the second one, to stick the glue dot to the palm and then to the trunk, and then stick the leaves on. Just works out better that way. So for the treasure chest, yes, I could have put it flat like that. It didn't look right to me, so I created a piece that is 3 inches, and then I scored it 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and then at 1/2 inch from each side, 2.5 I think, and then scored and folded all the lines. The 2 tabs on either end are going to be the bit that you are actually going to stick to the card, and the other 2 are what will create a second or a third, depending how many you're looking at here, pop up. So basically I made it the size of the height of the treasure chest, so that the treasure chest, it's a mouthful, can actually stand up in the card and be popped up. It made more sense to me that this is where I wanted my treasure chest. So then I put some adhesive on the pop-up piece, and then actually stuck it to that. So now the treasure chest looks like it's sitting in the sand rather than, you know, just flat on the sand. I had the space in there, I thought, why not? So, and then I'm going to stick the coins and the other map just flat to the base, to the bottom there. And this is where I realized that my map on the outside was actually upside down. So I just sort of quickly turned it around and saved the paper and managed to make that work. And then of course my little parrot, I totally forgot to put him, I think I was thinking I would put him on the inside, and in the end I decided to put him on the outside. So that is pretty much it. I am going to add some black glaze pen to the eye of the parrot, just because why not? It just raises it a little bit and it just brings out the eye. And then also on the skull and bone, the skull thing on the pirate hat. And then I've got a clear Sakura gel pen here, and that I'm going to use as it's got like a gold sparkle in it, and that I'm using just to highlight some of the sandy areas, because sand sparkles in the sun in my eyes. So I'm just going to do that with that. And then for the coins themselves, or the treasure, I'm using a Aqua Shimmer Nouveau sparkle pen, and this has like a white as opposed to a gold shimmer in it. I'm having trouble with this pen. I don't know if anybody else has that trouble, but I can't seem to get it to flow as nicely as it should. So I have issues with it. So yeah. For the most part you can see it, and I'll try and tip it up so you can see this in a minute, but that's pretty much it, guys. Yes, there's a lot of pieces. Yes, it takes a bit of time, but it's so cool, and I love seeing cards, especially when they're interactive like this. So I hope you've enjoyed this. As you can see, there's a bit of sparkle on the sand and the treasure, and then I'll show you the inside as well, where it just all pops out, and it's just the coolest thing. So Lawn Fawn do actually have some pop-up, whatever they're called, dies that are just made for those pieces, and it will actually do that in the center of the card. But I wanted a separate piece of pop-up, oh, I can't say it anymore, for my treasure chest, and I think it worked out quite cool. So I'm quite happy with it. But there you go, guys. One very interactive card. So I hope the recipient actually likes this, which I'm sure they will, but it's always that moment where you think, oh god, are they going to like it? So I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I hope you drag out any interactive dies or any beachy, pirates, anything like this, and just get creating with it. And I will see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.